This is Mark Whitten.
This is Adam MacArthur.
This is Ann Yatko.
This is Molly Chung.
Hey everybody, this is Michael Yurchak.
This is Daquan Wilshire.
This is Lexi Nieto.
This is Rico Fajardo, and you're watching.
And you're listening to Spoiler Force Podcast. Set your heart ablaze.
All right, so this is episode 189 of Spoiler Force. My name is Ricky, and thank you for tuning in. This week's guest is someone I'm so excited to have on the show. She is a background painter and the lead color supervisor for Rick and Morty. So let me bring my guest on here, Carol Wyatt. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Hi.
This is awesome because, for the fans, I want to let them know, I got you on the show due to Julian from the Cartoon Chronicles podcast. He's a good friend of mine. We've been podcasting around the same time. I listened to the episode you were on with him, and I learned a lot on that because I don't know much about the history of Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network. So hearing your story on his podcast was really cool. I didn't realize you were on that many pilots at all. That's part of my childhood too. For the fans and followers who don't know who you are, Carol, how did you get into the animation industry?
Okay, well, way back when I was born. No, I have been in the business for 38 years, so it's been a long time. But I started in the 80s, right after I graduated from Otis Parsons School of Design in Los Angeles. I started working at Deke, which was a studio who did after school specials and Saturday morning cartoons. And I started working on shows like Cops and The Real Ghostbusters and numerous quick, fast, cheap shows, and learned a lot really fast. But I didn't really know I was going into animation then. I really enjoyed working with all the people. I fit in. This was my geek world, and I was like, wow, I fit right in this world. And then, we all kind of migrated over onto The Simpsons at the very beginning. So that was kind of my big start, was on The Simpsons, the first 4 seasons.
That is awesome. I still can't wrap my mind around it. Like you got to work on those huge projects, seeing, because I'm coming from seeing artists from the convention side of things, like fan arts and freelancers and stuff like that. So having you on the show, being someone who's in that business, is still kind of mind-boggling to me, because no one really thinks about that stuff. We're also used to seeing just the end product, right? Or the
Right.
actors and the writers. We don't really think about the folks in the production side of things,
Right.
So it's seeing all this changing from animation from the 80s till now, seeing that growth in the industry and just the technology itself as well, and the art. How has that been for you? How is that seeing that growth in that field, in that industry, been for you?
Well, it's awesome. I mean, I started out as an illustrator, graphic designer, and so I was already doing my own artwork and doing commercials and all kinds of things before I started in animation. So I could already draw and paint, and everything back then was, on paper or, photographs, or, you had to still set your type with, waxers and everything. So it was before computers. And so that's a huge change. So in the 90s, everything switched. It took a good 10 years for everything to switch over to computers and tech, but with a lot of mistakes along the way, a lot of fixing things as we went along. But then everything became computerized. So we're still drawing on the computer. We're still doing everything by hand, but it's on computers now. We don't use paper anymore, hardly ever. And, everything from storyboards to everything is on computer. So it's changed tremendously. And then even now, with the tech advances, and shows like Arcane and What If, and, they've taken it to another level. So, we're all chasing and competing all the time and trying to do better and better work all the time. And it just gets better. So it's pretty astounding how much it's changed since those days when we were drawing on paper. but it's beautiful work now. A lot of beautiful work.
Do you still prefer being like a traditional artist versus like a digital artist? Or
No,
do you
I'm
like
lazy. I'm lazy. No, I no, I'm so when I sit down to draw with my pencil, I'm like, I can't delete it. I have to like work with what I have. It's not easy, to switch back and forth. Actually, I'm so used to the computer. I mean, it's your left hand, keyboard commands are just like second nature. So
Yeah, I have a cousin who's an artist too, and like I seen his little setup. He has like a small attachment keyboard, and he's just clicking the buttons to like back to delete or like to
yeah, it's just
undo, redo, and just adjusting the lines, putting layers on. Like all that stuff. Like I touched Photoshop a little bit and like Adobe Illustrator a little bit in high school, but like still I'm not good at art, so that's why I never pursued it. But I love it. I love art. That's like one of the skill sets I wish I had. But
Yeah.
seeing like artists from like drawing, like you said, drawing on paper to like from 2D to now it's like 3D and a mix of 2D,
Mhm.
and we're getting all these kind of shows, like Rick and Morty, and then like you said with Arcane and What If, just seeing how I love seeing the evolution of how our cartoons has changed growing up. Like for me, I grew up watching like Looney Tunes or like SpongeBob and all that. Like it was just flat surfaces, and then now it's like you can tell clearly like there's been changes in our animation and drawing. And so
Right.
Carol, for you, how is that like? Did you adapt to that pretty quickly, or was that something it took you a while to like get used to drawing on like on digital or even 3D?
I adapted quickly. I mean, you had to. It was sink or swim. So you either adapt or you don't work. So, unfortunately, a lot of people, especially in the early 90s, a lot of older animators and artists couldn't adapt, and they ended their career around that time. But you pretty much have to. And one of the things like I tell my students all the time too is you have to learn all the programs. You just have to constantly you have to learn them fast. You can't even take time to learn, like you were talking about Adobe. I don't know everything in Photoshop, but I use it every day and I use it backwards and forwards. But I'm sure there are a million things you can do with it that I've never done. So you just need to learn fast and learn as much as you can for what you need to do. And when you're on a production with a lot of really fun people and really talented people, it makes it easy because you can learn fast. So everybody kind of supports each other and teaches each other different tricks and things. And we still do that still now.
Yeah, I like that you guys, when you were talking with Julian about like the artists, like your group of artists that you guys all work together, whether you're from different studios or not, everyone kind of knows everyone. And so
Yeah.
like a lot of the animators that he's had on his show, and including you and many others, that you guys all kind of like just throw names out there. Oh yeah, we know him. Oh, we know
Oh
them.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool that you guys have this like really tight knit community, and then like you said, just to share each other's like skill sets, or maybe there's some animation secrets or things that you guys do together. I like that a lot. I think that's pretty cool that you guys can still do that. It's not like I guess gatekeeping in a way where you guys like, no, I'm
Right.
not sharing this skill set. I'm not.
No, if you're like that, you don't really last in this business very long.
Okay.
I mean, some people are that way, or some people hold their cards really close to their chest, but you really do have to collaborate in order to work on a production. So if you can't work with people, you don't have to love everybody, but you need to work together. So you always have to work with people.
So how is that like with you being a color supervisor on Rick and Morty? Like how do you deal with a team like that? What's your procedure or standard for that, being a supervisor for like Rick and Morty?
Well, it's a very humane production. Luckily, we have great producers and everybody's really great. I've been on the show since the beginning, since the pilot, so that helps. But my philosophy, it took years to learn. Supervising on The Simpsons was a real eye-opener. I was very young. I was kind of an idiot at that time in my life. I was early 20s and I'm supervising. Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing. And, so you work really hard, but you're not really taught how to manage people when you're supervising. So what I learned over the years is how to manage people and how to make that a priority, like over over the work, over everything. You need to treat people well and listen to them, because what you're building is a team. So your team has to work really well together in order to get the best results and to be the most efficient. So the happier people are, the more, and the better they are, the better, the most talented people, are great. But then you really need to have good personalities and people that work well together and are positive. If you have, a lot of negativity or gossip or things like that, it'll tear the production apart. So you can't have that. It just won't work, and people will quit and, not be happy. And so I really like to put together a good team and get to know people really well. And I check in with them a lot. And it's personalized. You get to know people really well, especially when you're a supervisor. You get to know people's everything. People tell you everything, and people have all kinds. Every day there's a fire, or somebody's cat dies, a relative dies, something. There's always an emergency, and you just really have to learn how to go with the flow, rearrange things, push things around so that everybody can work at their best level, and then we all have a great time. We enjoy it.
So how do you go about like hiring certain people on your team? Like, do you look at their portfolio, or is it like their experience and who they worked with?
Most of the time, yes, but I go word of mouth. It's usually
Okay.
word of mouth. Yeah, and I don't believe in testing. I know a lot of people do testing. I'm not one of those people. I do not test. I've had really good success rate. I've only had a couple people not work out in my entire career. So I go by word of mouth. I check in with people to see if they're crazy, or I like to meet people, online or in person, to find out how they are, in person, because somebody's portfolio could be beautiful, but they could show up and be really insane. So, you really do need to pay attention to people. Personality is everything. It's like it's very important. And you can be quirky and strange, but as long as you're kind of positive and you're a can-do person, you're going to do well. But I do look at portfolios. I like to hire the best people I can possibly find, and people who are better than me. I want better, so that I can tell them how to do things and they knock it out. It's important that you hire people that are even better than, that come up with ideas that you couldn't come up with. That, it's really important.
Do you look for folks who can do like similar drawing styles to you as well, or is it like, do you look at like more like abstract or something? You try to find like a niche in their art style.
No, they, as long as they have the basics,
Okay.
Because somebody could be more anime oriented, somebody could be more realistic. As long as they know foreground, middle ground, background, and they understand drama and lighting and theater, then you're telling a story. Ultimately, that's the goal. So you can be the best painter, but you've got to tell a story. So you've got to light things properly and make sure the mood is right and enhance a joke. It's really important to know how to tell a story. So people who paint well but also know how to get some emotion in their paintings or in drawings, they really need to convey feeling. That's really important.
I gotta ask you this now, because I never really thought about that in a show like Rick and Morty, where
Yeah.
everything's very comical, and you doing the backgrounds of the show, like how did that come about? Do you talk with writers and producers, or do you kind of like draw like a test drawing first to see how they feel about it? How does that process work for you?
Well, it's a long process. So I am the color supervisor. So I supervise all paint. So
Okay.
I don't design.
Okay.
So the design that we do is paint design. It's like lighting, mood. It's the emotional story. You're carrying the emotional story. Everything comes to us in black and white. So the writers will write, the storyboard artists will storyboard, the director works, and they all get that worked out. the designers start designing. They'll design backgrounds, characters, props, effects, and then we come in and we start doing the color, the paint, and we work with the art directors on our show. So I work with the art directors to kind of figure out the entire episode, how it's going to happen, and how the emotional story goes throughout, like, where to hold back, where to keep things kind of mellow, and then where to have like really strong lighting, where do we want fear, where do we want death, lots of blood, lots of gore, there's a lot of emotion, and it's very subliminal. A lot of times you won't even notice. It's stuff that we just know how to do it, and we're good at it, so we'll manipulate your feelings without you even knowing it. And but on Rick and Morty, we actually have a lot of times where we're anticipating something is going to happen. So there are a lot of scary moments that we build up to, and that's really fun.
For, I guess, when you're conveying this, like your colors and all that, do you already read the script ahead of time? Like you kind of give it, so you know what's going to happen, and then you guys apply like the colors and all that stuff.
You have to know everything.
Okay.
Yeah. You have a storyboard and an animatic too.
Okay.
So we all work together. I mean, a lot of times when it gets to me, because we're at the last step, so writing, storyboarding's the beginning. That's the first step, and that's where the directors work, and then art direction, color design, we're at like the second half. So the first half and the second half don't constantly work together. But when it gets to me, because everything I do goes directly to animation, we have to package it and hand them a nice package that's ready to animate as quickly as possible. So a lot of times by the time it gets to me, that's where we find out all the mistakes, all the problems, things are redrawn, things are redesigned, things, sometimes they'll have to change something in the board, So because when it gets to color, until that point, you're not seeing it in full and lit, and it's like seeing a movie in black and white before it's like, cinematography or whatever that word is, and it's before that. So when it gets to me, we have to do a lot of finessing and putting things together. But yeah, we go through. No, we'll spend 6 hours going through the board, the animatic with the art director, and talking. We go through, what color is that pencil? How do we want this classroom to look? Is this just a plain old classroom, or are we in a dream sequence, or what? And how? And this is a callback to season 3, so we need to use this, and then we have all these other things we need to add. So it's very detailed, very detailed. You have no idea.
I mean, like with the show like Rick and Morty, like being so like cosmic, and you can do a lot of things with aliens and like time travel and stuff like that. With the colors, do you and your team kind of like figure like what colors to use? Like, for example, like the portal gun, right? Because we all recognize it as a green portal gun. We kind of see, okay, that's when they're or that's when they're traveling through different universes, or when you see like alien blood and all that. Is that something you guys all discuss as well? Like, oh, this is the color we're going to use to like show death, or like kind of like a more gloomy moment.
Yeah, it's interesting. You just brought up the portal gun, because that is its own thing, and the portal has to be its own thing. So we can never reuse what the portal is. It's like that. In storytelling and film, in order for you to subliminally and remember something as something, you have to separate it from everything else. So the portal gun, as simple as it is, it's this one thing that nothing else is like it. So it has to be its own object. So we go out of our way to make sure nothing else is similar. And it's really important, because every time he grabs it and uses it, it's fast. And it's usually an action sequence. So you have to read it quickly. It has to be a fast read. So, color plays like such an important role in terms of memory and how you remember characters, how you remember what's going to happen or where we were before. It's a lot of thought.
I think one of my favorite moments is like seeing the Council of Ricks and like
Yeah.
how was that pretty. I guess doing backgrounds like that where there's so many characters that look alike and like trying to separate everyone, is that pretty tough sometimes?
It can be. I mean, it depends. I mean, in that situation, he's it depends. Was that season 3? Because I didn't work on season 3.
Okay,
But
I think
but I
that's
have
like
worked
season
on
2.
oh, season 2. I worked on season 2.
Yeah.
No, no, it's not hard. It's just what are you trying to convey? You're trying
Okay.
to. They are kind of one unit though, even
Yeah.
though they're all different. So you're individualizing them while also keeping them the same. So lots of challenge.
Yeah, because I noticed like a lot of the show, like in the background too, like there's moments where like you notice certain like
Yeah.
things that are stand outish, like the in season 2 where Morty gets the reproducing doll, and like
Right.
they're in the gas station. You kind of catch like little things like things that you wouldn't recognize, and sometimes it comes like you said with callbacks. Sometimes things come back in like
Mhm.
later seasons and stuff like that. Is that something you guys plan ahead to, like, or is that something that's given to you guys from the writers and the producers?
Both. It's the writers. The writers do come up with most
Okay.
of those. They really think it through, and it's very important. If we skip something, we have to go back and get it right. So but earlier in the series, we did add a lot of things in ourselves.
Okay.
But as things have gotten more streamlined and more like a pipeline, a really smooth pipeline, the writers really want to have more control over that, especially because of meta. We have so much meta, and there's so many things that get repeated, or they have a little meaning of something for like Beth's past or Rick's past or his wife who died or whatever. So everything matters. We have to keep track of everything we do, and it's quite a lot. So it's kind of good for them to say, no, we'll take care of it. It's like, great. Yeah, you take care of it. You figure that out, because you can't really make mistakes. Fans will figure it out very quickly. They let us know right away. Oh yeah, we go on Reddit and we watch, we read everything. It's hilarious.
Like I think I like to think I'm a okay fan of the show, and so I see like fan Reddits or like fan theories, and some folks like deep dive into the Rick and Morty
They
lore
do.
like crazy. And there's so many things that I don't catch on like on my third or fourth watch, and I'm like, oh my god, I didn't catch this.
Yeah.
But you mentioned you guys got to tag in a little bit of things in the earlier seasons of the show.
Yeah.
What was something you did in the background for Rick and Morty that maybe someone didn't catch?
I don't even remember. Well, I don't know if they never caught things. I mean, we used to do a lot of graffiti and we kind of make up our own things. Now we have to be really more careful because there just have been so many seasons. You don't want to like allude to something that, oh, we forgot about that or something, I don't really remember. It's been a long time. It's been 11 years on the show. So
yeah. It's crazy to see how like the show is still ongoing, But I wanted to ask you, like, because in the earlier seasons of Rick and Morty, I remember like seeing Rick's garage, right? And you can see like what he has in the background. Is that something that you were able to like? Is that something you did you put any input into that, or was that just writers again, just like telling you, oh, this is what we want?
No, at the beginning it was this tiny little crew. When I first started, I was on the pilot with Jason Bash. And it was a tiny crew. So they had already designed everything by the time I was hired. But we were winging it. You're trying to sell a show. So, and there wasn't a budget and it's a tiny crew. So you're just trying to get it done and get it sold. And then lo and behold, all of those designs and paintings that are done in the pilot get reused in the series. And then you're like, I wish I had time to work more on those, like you want to go back and fix a lot of those things. Every time we have to go into the house or the garage or whatever, we have to like slightly enhance things, but not we can't make it different. It's like, got to keep the house the same, got to keep everything the same, the neighborhood and everything. But the look of the show has progressed so much, so it's a hard marriage to do that.
Yeah, I love seeing the progression of the animation of the show too, like from season 1 till now. Like a lot has improved. Like I don't want to say the colors were like flat, but like you can clearly, you can clearly tell there was like a huge difference in like color and lighting from season 1 to season 8 now, and just like and the 3D changes you guys add on into it. It feels it's still like it still feels like a cartoon, but it doesn't seem so cartoony. Like season 1 was like, you can clearly tell like it's very cartoony in the beginning, and then now it's like now there's a main storyline, there's different things that they've added on, and again with cameos and stuff like that. So that's really been cool to see like how Rick and Morty's grown. But Carol, for you, seeing this show grow the way that it did, how was that like for you, seeing this project that you worked on from the beginning till now? People are still watching it. You guys still have new seasons coming out. You just sent me a link earlier. You guys were folks were at SDCC or San Diego Comic-Con doing a table read. For you as someone on the production side of things, how is that like for you, seeing the growth of this show?
Oh, it's so great. We love it. We're such a family too on the show. Like everybody, the actors are great. Everybody's really wonderful. We've just been working together for a long time, so it's very family like. We work really hard, really really hard. It's a hard show to do, but it helps that everybody kind of likes each other and we all get along so well. We have a lot of fun too. And also it's just gotten smoother over the years because, we're not really trying to figure things out like we were before. But what you're saying about, you brought up the point about being flat early days to now, that happened on The Simpsons too. So, I started this is what happens. When you start a show, you don't know where it's going to be or if it's going to take off. Same with SpongeBob, same with any show. So you start out at the beginning and you're just, again, you're simplifying and trying to get it done within a certain budget. And then later, if it's a success, you have to work within those parameters. So it's, it happened with Simpsons too. And now they do a lot more, little by little over the years, they've added, some details and shadows and more rendering and more, and they have these gorgeous designs too. It looks super simple, but it's not. And Rick and Morty's the same, although I think our designs have gone over the top now, but they're really detailed. But it's really fun to watch it change and grow. And I want that. I was not on the show for 3rd season, and when I came back to 4th season, the producer and I talked about it specifically, that I wanted to notch it up. I wanted to take it up, a bit. So it's just gotten better and better.
Oh, sorry. Was there a moment like, did you realize like, oh man, this show is like a hit? Was there a moment that you saw that?
There isn't like one moment, and you never know that's going to happen. Like, when I started on The Simpsons, the same thing. The Christmas episode aired, we were at the party, and we were like, I hope we all have jobs on Monday. You really don't have a clue. And so when the show started too, and it wasn't popular right off the bat. It was very like a slow progression.
Right.
So the first season, it wasn't even that popular first season. And it was very slow to grow. It almost seemed like it was a word of mouth thing. Like it got passed along, and then all of a sudden people realized it was there. And I don't know if there were any days where I realized that, but all of a sudden, things changed when I told people what I worked on. So, where one minute I'm saying I'm working on this new show called Rick and Morty, and you're like, yeah, whatever. And then another day you say, oh, yeah, I'm still on Rick and Morty. And they go, oh my God. And that's when you realize
that's how I was.
That's how it changes. Yeah. That's how you realize it, is by people's reaction.
Yeah, it definitely was like a slow burn for me too. Cause like I didn't jump on Rick and Morty until like the middle of season 3. I always saw like clips of it on social media, and I knew it was comical. And then like there was one point where the whole Pickle Rick thing kind of like exploded. So I was like, it's like I got a little more curious about that. I was like, all right, I'll go check this show out. And then like I think once I got to like middle of season 3, I was like, all right, I'm gonna go back and watch like season 1.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I,
Those
but
are
I
some
felt,
good ones.
yeah, I fell in love with season 2. I think by far, I
Season
think
2 was great.
me personally, I think out of the 8 seasons so far, season 2 is still my favorite, just because
Oh,
like,
really?
yeah, just from the episode with Unity to the microverse
Oh,
to
yeah.
to the
Oh,
finale, the wedding finale, like I don't know, those episodes hit me the hardest. Like I love those episodes. I can go back and rewatch it and still get good laughs from those episodes.
they're very funny. It definitely, not just the visuals have changed, but also the writing has changed as well.
Yeah.
Even though the writing was always super sharp and smart, Dan Harmon, is genius, and it was always amazing. We've always had great writers. I love all our writers; they're so amazing, and but definitely they've added a lot more stuff. Like there's a lot more action that we deal with now that we didn't deal with back then. We always used to joke that people in other shows they have a much smaller asset count than we do, and the reason we do is because we build a world, we destroy a world, we go to another world, and we build another world, we destroy that world, and we murder its entire population, and then we go to another world, or then we come home, and then they come to our planet, and we destroy. So it's just this, and that's just in 22 minutes. So it's massive what we have to do in each episode, but the writing has definitely progressed from season 2 to now, where they get more stuff in the stories and more action and more, so just as much as the visuals have changed, the stories have also grown.
Yeah. You mentioned like when you jump back onto season 4 and they told you to take it up a notch, I thought of the Crow episode,
Yeah.
like where the crows came and everything was crow tech, like because it's also on your website too, like the background of like the big crow ship and all of that. So
Yeah.
how you know I guess as an artist, what did you have to do to, I guess, take it up a notch? Was it like just brighter colors, or was it
No. It's hard. Well, first of all, producers don't want you to do that. Although for
Right.
some reason, this producer at the time, this was Mike Mendel, and
Okay.
we had a great relationship. But he was all for that because he loved the idea of he's not alive now. He was a really wonderful man and a great producer, but he was very artist friendly, and he was a big fan of animation. So he wanted things to be better and better, and he liked that I wanted that, and he was supportive of that. Of course, financially they do not like that, so
Okay.
you have to figure it out within the parameters of the budget and how many people you need and that kind of thing. But it was a lot of work because the backgrounds, the designs, they also got more detailed, and so that just takes more people, more time, more work. So it's not fun for producers, but it definitely takes it up a notch. And then when the fanfare comes back, it's worth it. But it takes all that time before they get any kind of reward. And then of course we have merch, thankfully, that probably pays for some of that stuff. So
Yeah, because like I said, all I thought about was that crow episode, because like it's so crazy, like just the big backgrounds, the tech,
it's
and
beautiful.
all the comedy in it at the same time, and then like the little Wranglers ad you guys throw in there. There's like so many funny things in that episode, and just that's the first thing I thought of. So I had to ask, like, because that's it's so unique seeing that, like how in the show like Rick and Morty, they throw so many like animation styles in there. Like there's so many anime type moments in this show too.
Right.
And that's what I think is hilarious, because you guys use that as like as part of the comedy in Rick and Morty to kind of
Right.
like to show the animation sequences, even like the colors as well.
Right.
I don't know if you worked on this episode, like where the episode where Jerry did the whole Sailor Moon sequence, like they even kind of use those same colors and concept. But for you, Carol, now that anime is like kind of a big thing, and even the Rick and Morty show has its own anime show, is that something that's crossed your mind at all, like trying to work in anime or Japanese anime?
Well, we've done parody of it on the show, and that's a
Right.
lot of fun to do because it's, we don't get to do that style very often. I love it. Just a fan of animation, of art in general. So whatever I can work on, I'm happy to work on because, I like to push myself also and do new things. But I tend to be more on the traditional end than the anime end. But that's only because that's where I am now. That doesn't mean that's where I'll be in 10 years. You never know where you're going to end up. But I love it. I love that they do so many different things with the show. I love the fan art. You asked that question when you said that question. I think it's just fantastic. I'm a fan of the fan art. And they post it every Friday on Adult Swim on Instagram. And I love that. Fan Art Fridays. So
have you seen any at like conventions at all that caught your eye?
I have not been to a convention I haven't been in so long. I've only been to Lightbox. So last time I went to San Diego Comic-Con I think it was like right when I started on Rick and Morty. So I don't remember.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I went to San Diego like 2 years ago. That was during the writer strike though. So like it was still packed, but it's just, I feel like because of the writer strike, a lot of things, like a lot of fun things weren't there. And like last year, and then this past event was like all the cool stuff came out. I'm like, like damn it, I went the wrong year.
Right, exactly.
Because San Diego has like the whole Rick and Morty section. I think they have one this year too. That the truck and like so many fun things. But
they had Butt World where you could go to the butt.
Did you have part of that too?
Right here.
Yeah.
Wall from the original,
Yeah, because with fan art, it's definitely a different market too. Because I know like I told you, like I speak with more convention artists than I do with people in the production side of things or people who work for studios. So when you see that, what's your take on like artists like that that do fan art or that are not in the
not in the business, but they love it and they sell the artwork.
Right.
I think it's fantastic. I don't have really, I'm not in a legal situation where I have to worry about whether they're stealing something or, encroaching on my property. So I'm happy to see, I'm an artist too, so I'm happy to see it. The difference, I think, because I have students, I teach at Cal State Long Beach, and I have students also who do fan art, but they're also amazing filmmakers. And they're still in that stage of trying to figure out exactly who they are as an artist, even though they're making content and they're doing projects. They do a lot of fan art because it can be finished and beautiful and they can sell it and make a little bit of money. So I think the difference between working in the business and doing fan art is that when you're in the business, that's your income. That's your main income and your main life. And it's, very serious and it's a lot of work and, you progress in your career and you want to try and get somewhere with that career and you want to work on certain projects. So it's just a different lifestyle, I would say. And, but if you're a fan art artist and that's your thing, that's great. It's just a completely different type of work. So that's
because I know like with a lot of, especially in anime, right, Japanese animation, that's been kind of like a thing where some conventions are like, oh, there's been like cease and desist orders being handed out, like you can't sell that, so like it's cool to hear from someone who's on the production side of things, because again, me knowing people who do fan arts and sell at conventions, it's a very like small, not so much small market, but it's a hard business in itself, because you're relying on like the conventions. That's how you're getting your income, versus like being in a business where you're producing for studios and all that.
I think what happens, like, and I'm a complete supporter of people doing whatever it is they want to do to sell their own art. It doesn't matter to me if they're doing fan art or making their own content or they're doing some beautiful posters or whatever. It doesn't matter to me. I just think it's great if they're doing it and producing work and creating. I think probably what the biggest difference is and what we're hired to do when we work in a studio is you're creating something out of nothing. So that's the biggest difference. So we're not doing fan art of our show, we're creating the show. And then the fan artists are making the fan art of something that already exists. So that's the biggest difference, I think.
Do you find it, I guess, were there moments during the production of Rick and Morty where you ever like stumped at all, like during like trying to make a background or figure out what color to use?
Gosh, every day. But that's why I was hired. I love that challenge. One of the art directors always says, Carol, you're crazy, because I actually love that challenge. That's one of the most fun things. I think solving problems is part of the fun of it, and finding the most creative way to solve problems is really fun for me. I enjoy that. That's why I'm a supervisor. So, that's part of why I do what I do. And yeah, it is hard, and I do get stumped. And there are days where you're insecure. And if you're insecure those days, that's harder. But, after doing it for so many years, I just trust myself. I know I'll solve whatever I need to solve. I've learned at this point, or I'll ask somebody for their help, which is okay to do. You can ask people to help you too. You don't have to know everything.
Was there anything like on the show itself that I guess the producers ever come back to you, like, hey, we want you to like, I'm pretty sure you got this a lot, but was there anything specific that like comes to mind? Did they ever say, oh, we want you to change this,
Oh gosh,
tweak like the colors on this or change the lighting on this?
Yeah, well, every once in a while you'll make a mistake and it can be costly. You don't do that very often. It's not, you can't.
Right.
It costs too much money. You'll bye-bye career if you do that. But but sometimes you'll make a mistake, or I think the biggest problems come from communication. So you have to be a really good communicator. The supervising director has to be an excellent communicator. The writers have to be excellent communicators, and we have a head writer who's brilliant and awesome. And Martyr, he's just great, and he communicates so well, and he gets efficiency. He's so great, but everybody needs to communicate like at the top efficiency in order to get things to the animators quickly and to get things done correctly, or else things do come back, and that's what you have retakes for, and that's why you have post, and that's why we hire animators for post, so that they can reanimate things, also because sometimes lines get changed, dialogue gets changed. So sometimes they'll ask us to change things while we're still working on stuff, but a lot of times it comes after the fact, like it's later down the road, like after maybe Dan Harmon has watched it in color and he's like, oh, this joke isn't working as well as I would like for it to work. We need to fix this or change this. And then we'll have to fix it. Yeah. Make it work better.
Well, to add on to that, I wanted to ask you that too. Was there something that you saw in your own work that like, oh, I should have changed that?
Oh, that happens all the time. But the thing about being an artist though is it is subjective. We're all looking at things subjectively. So really right and wrong is a thin line. It's really what it comes down to is how well are you telling the story. If you're not telling a story correctly, if people aren't getting the joke or people aren't getting the vibe you're supposed to be getting at this certain scene or whatever, you're not doing your job. You got to do it better. But if it's just a debate over like, well, I don't like the color of that coat, or I wish that room were yellow, that's not the same thing. That's like personal preference. So you have to divide those into two camps.
Was there any backgrounds that you did that I guess were your favorites? I know you said you worked on the butt or the butt world, right? Or
I did work on that, but that wasn't one of my favorites. I think, I wrote down a couple because actually one of my favorites that I really love is one we did for season 8. What was it? The one that's based on like the Rick, the Mort, and the Ugly, and yeah, with the Mortys.
yeah,
That one, we worked really hard on that episode, and the art director was James McDermott, and he and I worked together a long time. We worked really well together, and we work hard, and we worked really hard on that episode. It looks like incredible. But from previous seasons, I loved the toilet episode, even though like maybe it wasn't one of the most favorite episodes for people. In terms of artwork, it was absolutely gorgeous. And then the horror episode. Oh gosh, what was that? Yeah, Night Family.
Oh my God, that's a good
one of my
episode.
favorites.
That is such a good episode. The Night
That's
Family.
one of my absolute favorite episodes ever.
I love the color scheme, like where when Rick's tied down and he meets.
It's all limited.
Yeah, I love that. And the night summer.
Well,
comes
that's
in
a
the back.
perfect example. What you're saying of like we're creating that mood. It's that horror mood, you know. Yeah.
I also love like just the little like joke where Rick goes to the other planet to get plates.
Yeah.
Like
I know.
that whole sequence of him just like, you owe me, and it just getting indestructible plates,
Right. Great jokes, yeah. But it's such a good episode. That's one of my favorites for sure.
I guess I wanted to add on to that too. With that night episode, was I guess, how did you guys come up with the idea to have them like be so I guess for the Night Family to come up with the theme of the Night Family colors for them? How did that come about? Was that from like Halloween movies, or is that something you guys spoke as a team like, we want to use these?
Yeah, it was written to be the horror. Like every season, we have one episode that can be a horror episode or comes close to that. So that was this one, and so it was already written to be that and to be directed that way, and the storyboard and everything. It was done beautifully to be, to have all that impact and the acting and stuff. So, but we mostly used horror references from various movies and just generic things that you think of when you're terrified of limited palettes, but really uncomfortable color. You're not comfortable, you never sit well while you're watching it. That's really important to do when you're anticipating something bad's going to happen. So we had a lot of reference, but we all, it was fun just coming up with it. We came up with a very limited palette that worked really, really well.
Yeah, I think you guys did well too, like with the scene where they're scraping the food down Rick's mouth. The color on that, just disgusting. Like that nasty old, looking color, and just like it's so grimy. You guys did that so well too. Just I felt disgust looking at it, like, oh, that's so gross.
It is. But see, and this is the combination. So the writing is great, but then the design is amazing, and then the point of view that they drew those shots is so important to that scene because they just scrape it so slowly, and then the loud scrape sound, that's the only sound you hear. It's just really brilliant. So the color is one part of all of those things. It's a big combo effort to make the story sing.
I know we touched up on like projects you wanted to work on, but was there anything, I guess if you could work on anything specific, was there something that you haven't worked on that'd be like, I want to work on that show?
Well,
if you can say, I don't want you to say something where you'll get in trouble either.
Oh, I wouldn't get in trouble. No,
okay.
No. Because no, I love what I do. But we also have our layoffs, so there's plenty of time to do other things. I would kind of like to work on a feature again someday, but I don't really know what kind or what. I kind of let things come to me, and then I've been very lucky. Like, you do work on a bad thing here and there, but I've been very lucky.
so you've been able to kind of like pick and choose what you want to do instead of like.
I most of the
I mean-
time, not always. No, there are
I mean-
times writer strikes. No, that's
Oh,
when
yeah.
you take whatever you can get. Yeah.
Right. But you've been in the business for what 38 years? You said
38
that's so all that experience of seeing so many shows come and go, and
Yeah, that's true.
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's weird that The Simpsons is still on though. That's crazy.
Yeah. I think they're hitting almost 40 years soon.
Yeah.
The next,
Mhm.
yeah. Oh man, that is, yeah. Because like even my folks would tell me like, yeah, we watched The Simpsons since we were like young. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's a long time.
Yeah, we started in '88 on the series, but they were doing the shorts before that.
Right.
Yeah.
But I do have some fan questions here. I
Oh,
totally
okay.
forgot about this. Yeah, I got a few. I totally forgot about it.
I love it. I will take them.
Okay, so this first one is from No Show. They wrote on TikTok. What details seem to go unnoticed when there's a discussion about the differences in art style and coloring with old and new cartoons?
Well, actually, that is a great question. This person must be an artist. Because, yeah, the older cartoons were much simpler. And when I first started, like I was at Hanna-Barbera and Cartoon Network when I first started, Nickelodeon when I first started. And it was okay to not have too much continuity. It was okay to not worry about a lot of detail. Even color decisions were simpler and not as important. Like people didn't put as much weight on things. And it really took a long time for television, I should say, not feature, but television to catch up to feature's ideals of you can tell a story through design, paint, cinematography, lighting. It really wasn't taken that seriously until I was on The Simpsons. Actually, I learned from the best. I mean, I learned from Brad Bird and Rich Moore and David Silverman, and they taught us to really look at film and use film for reference and follow moods from films and bring that into animation. But at that time, it wasn't done like that. It was very cheap, very fast. So the details have changed quite a bit. And there are still people who try and get away with the cheap stuff. And it just doesn't fly like it used to because there's too much good stuff right now. Everybody's getting so good. So I guess the details are overlooked from the past, but now we have much better design, much better everything. So it's just a lot of detail now. It's just gotten so sophisticated now.
Yeah.
So even when it's simple, like, and I don't say this as if Love and Robots are simple, but like the most recent, like one of the artists just got an Emmy for his work on his Love and Robots cartoon, and I can't remember what the name of it was, but it's amazing design, but it's traditional. He is a comic book artist, so he brought that to animation, but it's his use of color and design that nails it. It makes it just so incredible. It's simple though. It's 2D. It's not 3D, and it's like very simple, sharp design. So I think it's just more sophisticated more than anything. You can't get away with doing cheap, cheesy stuff anymore. Yeah.
So this next question is from Certified Sober Boy on Instagram.
Awesome.
He asks, we touched up on this topic a little bit, but I guess if you can maybe like be more specific in your answer. He asks, has anime or manga had any influence on you as an artist?
Yeah, it mostly influences me with effects because my department is responsible for effects. So I've learned a lot over the years how to do really good effects, and now we have really good designers doing those, but we really have to pull it off in color and lighting. And I've learned a lot from anime. We reference a lot of anime for effects, and I think that's probably my biggest influence. And then also staging, how they stage things is really beautiful too. When they do action sequences, we'll use a lot of influence for our action sequences as well.
And this last question here is from Julian. He asks, "What's
Julian.
your yeah?" He asks, "What's your proudest moment in your career? Was it a scene, a show, or a particular gag that you may have gotten in? Like, was this something that you've done in the past, or even now? Like, what's one of your proudest moments?"
Well, it would have to be like shows overall. I was part of the design crew, to design Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. That was one of my favorite jobs that I've done, and I got to just make up what I was doing, and that was amazing. So I'm really, really proud of that work, and it's influenced a lot of people. Like I have fans just from that work, and that's kind of amazing to me. But I'm also just really proud of, even though it was many years ago, what I did on The Simpsons, because it was a learn on the job experience. I was not an animator. I came onto the show as an illustrator, and I had to learn how to animate and use camera and do in-betweens and clean up and color and paint cells, and so I'm very proud of that work and just how much I learned in a short amount of time. I didn't have to pay to go to Cal Arts. I had already gone to college. And then Over the Garden Wall, I loved working on that too. And I loved the work I did on that show. It's just beautiful. It's some of my most beautiful work, I think.
That's awesome. Well, Carol, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah.
I've had so much fun talking to you about just Rick and Morty. Like I said, like we're only scratching the surface of what you've done over the past 38 years, which is again crazy because you worked on so many things. And I don't know. I'm just very glad that you made time to be on my show.
Well,
just to
thank
talk
you.
about this.
I
Yeah.
appreciate it. It's really nice. It's actually really nice talking about Rick and Morty because normally I don't talk about Rick and Morty. Everybody wants to hear about all the other stuff. So this is like a nice change. Thank you. I appreciate it because
Yeah.
I love my job and I love what I do on Rick and Morty. It's really fun.
Yeah, I'm doing this as well, to like set up my countdown to 200 episodes, to my 200th episode, because I'm doing I'm doing like a Rick and Morty marathon with my cousin, and we're gonna be talking about each season in the next few
Awesome.
episodes. So yeah, that's why like to talk to you before we start this countdown. I was like, this is perfect. We're gonna jump right
I
into.
have a question for you then.
Okay.
So what do you think about season 8?
Season 8, I'll be very honest. I love that first episode, the whole Matrix episode. Made me think of the whole Roy thing, which is still one of my favorites.
Right. I love that one too.
I like that. But I really loved the finale. I think the finale was probably the best episode of the season, just because I'm a sucker for Rick's like story, which is why I love season 2 so much. Because like once the writers and again the artists and everyone dive deep into like Rick's background, his love for Diane,
right,
and just seeing his past. This guy is so troubled in the inside,
right.
And then like I
so
love
complex.
And I love the reference to like was it Mind Rick or like the Rick that was in Jerry's brain, like even that they just seeing how seeing that Rick with Rick's last memory of Diane, like they came together and even Rick was like having a hard time letting them go. He's like, you come back here, I'm gonna destroy you guys. He had to say something mean, but like you can clearly tell by his like expression how the lines were delivered. Like Rick is having a hard time letting go of his past, and I thought that the finale for season 8 touched up on that so well. Now, what I do wish though, I still wish for more Evil Morty stuff. I still want to see more of him. I this is just my opinion. I thought that maybe killing Prime Rick was a little bit too soon. I was hoping he'd last longer, and being one of the main villains. I was like, oh man, I hope they don't get rid of him so soon. But it happened in season 7. but there's so much you can do with Rick and Morty. It's multiversal. I was thinking that maybe you guys would bring stuff from the comic books. I haven't read all of them. But I heard like there's like an issue where like there's a universe of Jerry where he's the smartest one in his universe, and I was hoping that maybe you guys would tease with that Jerry coming in and messing with Rick.
See, that's so funny. I think everybody has their favorite. So you like Rick's story. There are people who are just super fans of Jerry's, and they just want more Jerry stories. And then And then, the Beth,
Oh yeah, yes, Beth.
that's actually one of my favorite episodes that I've been on, and I just thought that was genius. But
I was so sad. I thought you guys really killed off Space Beth. I was like, oh my god, like holy shit! Like, I thought that was like canon. I was like, oh my god, like I did not see that coming at all.
trust the writers. They know what they're doing. They've got it all. They're already on season 10, so
Yeah.
they're way ahead.
And then I do like. I think someone who's very underrated still is. I think Summer's still very underrated. Like you brought the Night family. I was hoping to see maybe like Night Summer come back or something, or like
She's
tease
like
the Night family.
Yeah.
Because like I think there's so much you can do with Summer because you don't expect it from her. Like she's always being shitted on by Rick and Morty, and even Beth and Jerry. Like they kind of just ignore her, let her do her own things. So I was just hoping
she's
that
like the smartest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, but I am a sucker for Rick's story. Just like I said, season 2, especially with Unity, and then
That's so funny. We were just talking about that today.
and then I'm also like a sap for the love story too. Like there was the episode with Rick and Planetina. Like kind of brings for people who are older, you kind of see like, oh, this is how it was like being in love when you were younger or in your youth. Like
Right.
seeing that, and I love like just small realistic callbacks to that. I just and then again with. My favorite episode of all time is the Microverse episode. Like that.
Oh my god, that's so
genius. Like
Microverse,
no Miniverse, and Teenyverse. Like it's so comedic. Every line was so good.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
Oh my god, I love that episode so well. And then again, the episode after that, which was the marriage counseling episode with Jerry and Beth and Worm Jerry. Oh my god.
Jerry. Oh my gosh, you're really reminding me. Oh, I forgot about all of these episodes.
Like there was a
part. Jerry was so great.
And then like there's a part in the episode where they're trying to escape, and like I just love the coloring in the background where it's like pink panels.
Yeah.
And Jerry's like, if we hide in here, like they won't catch us. Like, oh my god. Jerry's such an idiot.
That's great. Yeah, he's such a good character.
But yeah, little things like that, and then just like seeing the Jerry's vision of or his thoughts on how Beth looks like and how she's like the alien queen, and then all that. I guess like season two is chef's kiss. Like I don't care what anyone says. Season 2 is by far the best one. I still think by far out of these 8 seasons, nothing's topping season 2.
Well, that was when it became super popular too.
Yeah.
That was when that happened. So yeah.
Well, before we do sign off, is there any way for followers who like maybe like, check out your work or follow you on social media, or I mean, if you have that, is there any way they can do that?
I kind of keep my social media private. So,
Okay.
I mean, they can go to my website, or they can, if they're on LinkedIn, they can try and connect. But I keep my Instagram like kind of small.
Okay.
And but when I'm looking for work, you never know, I might open it up to more people.
I'll definitely share your website so folks can check out your work and stuff like that, and check out your resume.
It's not quite updated, but I'll try and update it soon.
Oh no, I like that. I like seeing all the stuff. But yeah, this has been great, Carol. Thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate this, and hopefully we can do like a part 2 and talk more about your other stuff instead, besides just Rick and Morty. Like talking with you, I learned so much already. Like I had no idea like the business side of things was like so complex already. Like I know there's a lot of work in it, but I didn't think it was like complex just to do coloring and shading and all that.
Huge.
Yeah. But thank you so much.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, if you guys, again, you can find Carol's stuff on her website, which I'll have in the links below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Spoiler Force. And make sure you guys tune into the countdown to 200. Me and my cousin Bobby will be talking on Rick and Morty seasons 1 through 8. So watch out for that. And this episode has been a great way to kick that off too. So again, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. This is episode 189 of Spoiler Force Podcast. Thank you guys so much, and have a great day.